Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening. Hope
Good
I am
morning, good
audible to
morning.
all.
Yeah, good morning.
Appreciate it. Thanks for joining on time. So, shall we proceed with the next module today?
Sure.
All right. So, we'll be focusing on the fundamentals of Linux operating system as per your course curriculum. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Loksai. Sachin this side. Good
Yep.
morning.
Very good morning.
Actually, this is my third class with you, but I didn't join the other two classes before because of my office. And before you, my trainer was Castro, and I took two classes, two sessions with him as well, in which he covered the basics of DevOps. And he started with AWS as well, in which he taught us to create EC2 instances and some of the Linux commands as well. So now I'm little confused that I am doing it again from the scratch, like these Linux commands and DevOps introduction again. So you will be my trainer for means for throughout the AWS session or DevOps, or who will be my trainer? I'm not sure again.
Yeah. So, I'll be taking care of this training. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, I'll be taking care of all these modules. Hope you have this course curriculum with you, right?
Yes, I do have it. Yeah.
Yes, so we'll be focusing on the open source DevOps tools in the initial modules, and then we'll
Mm-hmm.
be getting into the Azure, Microsoft Azure related services and DevOps. All right, so there's a plan, and just go with the flow. We are going to learn about Linux fundamentals today. So you'll be again, refreshing the Linux concept. If you already covered,
Okay.
that's not an issue. So today I'll show you how to set up a lab environment, okay, to practice your Linux and other modules, right? So
But
in
still,
your previous cases, you must have created your AWS account and able to launch some VM, right? So that is to set
yes.
up your lab actually, not to get into the core AWS modules. So we are
Okay.
going to use our AWS cloud platform to spin up some virtual machines to work on these DevOps tools.
Got
Got it?
it.
So from today onwards, we'll be focusing more into your lab, will be more into your practicals. So in order to practice all your DevOps tools, like if you can see our last day session, we were able to cover the fundamentals of DevOps, and
Hmm.
at each and every stage of DevOps, we are going to use some DevOps tools, right?
Hmm.
So in order to install and practice these DevOps tools, we need a computing environment.
Correct.
Correct. So you cannot install all these tools in your local Windows machine, your laptop. So what we do, we're going to rely on our cloud platform. It can be your Azure or AWS or Google Cloud Platform you can use, and we'll spin up some virtual machines to start our preparation. Simple as that. Got it?
Okay.
So you're not out of the track. Just go with the flow. Um, I'll be continuing till end of this.
All
And
right.
yesterday, did you get chance to go to the class recordings
Yes.
of
Yes.
these DevOps introduction?
Yes. I saw them. Yeah.
So any questions? Are you able to understand the flow here, or do you have any
Yeah.
question?
So far, everything is theoretical, so I was able to understand what you were
It's
teaching
not about
before.
theoretical, okay? Everywhere we were discussing
The
about some
the
real-time
tools,
scenarios, right?
yeah, I
So
heard
it
that.
is, yeah, introduction means it is just to make the things clear about
Hmm.
what you're going to learn, how it is going to add value to your career, what are the real-time scenarios, where we are going to implement on that perspective. So from your Linux module only, we're going to start with our uh, you know concepts, core concepts, along with some live demo.
Got it. Mm.
Right? Fine. And Saran, what is the problem? Focus disabled in your page means have you logged into your GitHub account?
Are you asking me or someone else?
Saran, I think Saran is there on call, right? It was his question. Yesterday, I shared one GitHub repository URL, right? So, did you get chance to go through the repository for our class notes?
Yes.
Okay. So, this is a repository. Let me ping you this repository again to everyone here. And listen, please. Saran, you should click on the fork button from this link. If you already forked the repository and if you're trying to fork it again with your same name, it might create some duplicate entries, so it won't allow you to create. So I haven't disabled anything. It is a public repository. You all can be able to fork it. That's not an issue. Got it? Ensure that you clear your cache or re-log in and try again. It should be fine. Or you can directly utilize this URL. Just bookmark this link. Okay, the link which I pinged you, right? Please bookmark it. Okay, and utilize the same. All right. So we'll be adding more contents into this. Fine. So coming back to your today's module, Saran, you just keep this URL with you. Okay, that's not an issue. All right. Fine. So coming to your next module, okay, like fundamentals of Linux. So when we say fundamentals of Linux, Linux is one of the operating systems, right? In any computing environment, if you want to execute any application, you need an operating system. And Linux is one of the operating systems. We are going to learn this Linux OS on DevOps perspective. We have a huge scope, okay? We have a huge wide area while working on Linux. As a Linux administrator, we can able to do lot many things, but we are not here for Linux administration training, or we are not going to become a Linux administrator here. To manage our DevOps tools and services, what are all the Linux features we need? What are the tasks we're going to do on day-to-day basis? On that perspective, we are going to learn Linux operating system. Easy. So we'll be discussing the fundamentals of Linux, what it is all about its basic properties, the distributions, and some of the basic Linux commands that we use on day-to-day basis. And then we'll be talking about the file management, user management, and also some shell scripts. Okay. So I hope you all aware, right, what does the operating system means? Any guess? What is an OS? Why we need OS?
To interact to interact with the machine, because it works uh, on the binary language, which is 0 and 1, and which is not easy for us to understand or to interact with the machine.
Okay. Apart from that,
Interacting between software and hardware modules. So we use operating systems.
Software and hardware modules.
Uh, Systems, sorry, systems, not a modules.
Okay. Okay. Have you worked on any OS, like any operating system you're working on?
Yeah, Windows.
Hmm?
Yes, Windows operating system.
So on daily basis, whenever you access your desktop or a laptop, obviously you're using your um, OS, right? So for any computing device, okay, let's say for an example, listen carefully. People who are completely new to these terminologies, please pay more attention. So consider this is my computing device. It is a computing device. It can be a laptop or a desktop or a mobile device or your tablets, whatever you're going to use, right? So this computing device are composed of the underlying hardware components like your CPU, memory, and all of the stuff, right? And the main agenda for using this computing device is to run some applications, right? Like for example, if you want using your mobile device means you'll be running your mobile applications. In my desktop machine, I'm running some desktop applications. So on user perspective, the main agenda is to run some application. But how we can run the application? Applications are just the executables, the execs, right? The files, the DLL files. When you download any software through internet, you're downloading the exec file, right? The executable code of your program. After all, it is just a piece of code that you want to run as an application. But directly, you cannot run any applications on this hardware component. So what we do here is, on top of this underlying hardware, we will be installing the operating system. Got it? And using this operating system only, we can able to run some OS-based applications. So your operating system is going to be an interface between the user application and the underlying hardware. Easy? And this OS alone, it is not going to do all the tasks. Okay, OS is a kind of manager, we can say, which is going to manage the hardware as well as the software resources that you are running in the machine. But predominantly, the operating systems are considered as an interface. Interface means it's a kind of a mediator between the user application and the underlying hardware. Right. And this application, it can be anything. It can be any user application. Like for example, if I create my own application using Java or .NET, that can be considered as a user application. Or if I run any applications, like I'm using this mobile term, Git Bash, PowerPoint, and other stuff, right? So all these things are applications that is meant for the user. In addition to that, there are some middleware products. Okay, some OS related components. Say for an example, in this hardware component, I mean in this computing device, if I want to use my USB drive, if I want to use my printer, so what we do usually, can we directly use my operating system to access this device? No, we install some driver software, right? So we need to install some driver softwares. So those driver softwares are not the user application. It is considered as a middleware product, which is promptly used by the operating system to interact with that devices. So this operating system, it is just like a mediator between the driver software and the hardware. That is what you should consider. So at any point of time, OS are considered as an interface between the application and the underlying hardware here. Simple. So using operating system, we can able to manage all sort of tasks on this machine. So if you are preparing for a Linux administration, the training will be completely altogether a different scope. Okay, because you need to understand the core of the Linux OS. But on DevOps perspective, what we're going to do on daily basis. Let's say I am a DevOps associate. Every day I'm using my DevOps tools. So I should know how to install my DevOps tools on my Linux machine. And I should know how I can able to update the package. I should know how to allow the users to access that package. So on that perspective, we'll be learning about Linux fundamentals here. Understood?
Yeah,
And
sure.
Yes.
apart from Linux, there are various OS available. Like as I said, if you are working on your Windows machine, you'll be using your Windows OS. If you're working on your mobile devices, you'll be using your mobile related OS, like your Android or kind of things, right? So OS is purely depends upon the underlying infrastructure, the computing device. Out of all these things, why we are learning about Linux? Why not Windows? That is the next question, right? So the reason we are frequently using our Windows OS, right? In all our desktop machines, we are very much habituated to use our Windows operating system because it is very, interactive. It is very much easy to interact and, do our day-to-day activities. So we use Windows operating system on layman perspective. But if you want to play a role as a DevOps administration activities or any other computing environment, like I was talking about various environments yesterday, starting from your dev environment, build, test, QA, UAT, and all right. So each and every environment are just a computing environment. It is a computing device. It can be the virtual machines. Got it? So we'll be promptly using Linux. Why Linux OS means Linux is considered as a lightweight operating system. It is a open source operating system, and though it is open source, it is more secured and reliable when compared to Windows. Got it? Even today, though you have a very enhanced versions of Windows operating system, we cannot consider Windows for our DevOps operations, actually, even for any operations at the back end, you can say. Why? Because Windows is having a lot of additional configurations, a lot of efforts. To install Windows OS itself, you need a lot of space. It consumes a lot of space, and the license has to be upgraded. Patches has to be upgraded. A lot of activities has to be done. Maintenance activities are more there. But Linux, it's not like that. Correct? It is very lightweight and easy to use. Only thing is, if you are using your core Linux, it will be purely based upon your command lines. You'll be using some Linux commands to interact with your OS. If you're working on your Windows machine, you can use your mouse pointer. You can able to do any sort of actions just with some mouse click events because it is completely a GUI based graphical user interface. But if you want to use your Linux, I'm talking about the core admin activities, not just your user level activities. It will be based upon the command line utilities. Through commands only we can able to interact. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
All right. So let's begin. So in order to start using a Linux, there are some pointers related to the overview of Linux and Linux based no architecture and distributions and all. We'll be learning about it. First, let's understand the capabilities. Okay, so let me put you the list of the capabilities of Linux, and then that includes the architecture components as well. Listen carefully. So as we discussed, there are various types of your operating system like Windows, Mac, or Linux. And if you're talking about the Linux OS, it is completely open source. And the evolution of Linux operating system, if you see, it was developed using, from the Unix operating system. Unix OS and all, it was used in the very initial stages of this computing environment. So based upon the properties of Unix OS, this Linux OS was developed, and we have various versions are being created on daily basis. I'll talk about the versions in some time. And very important thing is, though it is open source, it is very secure. Why it is called as open source means it is available for free. Got it? Even you can able to see the source code that is used to create this Linux OS. The source code is available in our open project. If you search for the Linux source code, it is available online. So anyone who's interested to enhance the Linux operating system, they can use the source code, they can able to create a new version out of it. And once it is certified, they can able to release it. Like that, the evolution of Linux is, started, and it is going on. We have a lot of features, a lot of good features we have. So ultimately, it helps to run any Linux-based applications, and it acts as an interface between the user applications and the underlying hardware. And if you're using your core Linux, means it is promptly based upon your uh, command user interface. Got it? That means your CUI mode. I'll show you how we can interact. Even in your Windows machine also, you have a command prompt, right? Correct. We have a command prompt. So what is the need for this command prompt? What is the need for command prompt in the Windows machine? This command prompt, whatever you're seeing, right? What is the need for this? Have you used command prompt from your Windows machine?
Yeah, to run some commands or some backspace.
What are things you did there? Like, what is the purpose of this? So basically, this command prompt are used to directly interact with the OS. All right. It is used to directly interact with the operating system. If you want to directly interact with your Windows operating system, you can use command prompt. If I'm using this notepad, means I'm interacting through this notepad. I am interacting with operating system, but I'm using this notepad application, right? But if I'm using command prompt, means through this command prompt, I can able to directly interact with the operating system. That's what the main purpose here. Similarly, your Linux operating system is completely based upon your CUI mode. You can directly interact with the OS through commands. And if you see the operating system and its components, the core of the Linux OS is called as a kernel. The core of the Linux OS is called as kernel. It is just a term used to refer the core component of your Linux. Similarly, for Windows also, we have what you call for Windows? We call it as Windows registry. Heard about the term? Windows registries. So usually, if you can, even if I see this command prompt itself, it just opened in my default C drive, because in my C drive, I have installed and configured my operating system. In that directory, I have the core of my Windows registries up and running. And what is the role of this kernel? Means it is used to manage various components of this Linux. So It means if you consider the computing environment, consider this is my computing device, and on this device, assume that I have installed the Linux OS. And the core of the Linux OS, we call it as a kernel, right? So what is the role of this kernel? What the kernel is going to do means it is going to manage all these activities. So if you consider the architecture of this Linux, we have various tasks to do, starting from the networking, storage, inter-process communication, user management, security management, control groups, namespaces, process management. All these things are something controlled and managed by this core kernel. Because anything you can consider, right? Everything is managed through this kernel actually. So that's what. So the Linux architecture composed of various components like the networking components, storage components, inter-process communication, a lot of things. So if you are part of your Linux administration team, you have to learn about all these things in detail for sure. But on DevOps perspective, you should know what it is. Just on a high level, that's more than sufficient. Because our role is something different on Linux machines. Got it? So let's say, for example, consider any computing device. If you want to use, what is a primary requirement? Hmm? Let's say you have your machine. If you want to access the machine, what you need to do first? Hmm? In that machine, you have to properly install and configure the operating system. That is very much important, right? Assume that we have installed Linux in this machine. And using Linux, I'm able to manage the networking of this device, whether I want to connect to my internet or whether I want to connect within the intranet or whether I want to connect to another machine within my network. Like this, I can able to set up the networking for my device. Because the networking is not just a small deal, okay? The network, whatever we establish, should be secured. It should not allow any intruders or it should not directly expose your applications to internet. So a lot of protocols has to be used to secure your network. That is one of the role or activities of your Linux operating system. That is a kernel. And next thing is about the storage. So even in your Windows machine also, if you want to install your OS, what you do usually, we just partition our hard disk, right? And maintain the partitions for certain tasks. Like I can use my C drive just to manage my operating system components. I can have a D drive and E drive and all. So we just segregate our actual volume into some logical partitioning and we'll be allocating some space to that partition and maintain the files and components. And at any point of time, you can able to scale up. You can able to add more volumes to your thing. So all this storage management can be done through your Linux OS. And another thing is IPC, that is inter-process communication. So when we say inter-process communication, it is to establish the communication between the process. Like any task you run on your Windows machine or any computing device, let's say I'm talking about this particular Notepad, right? This is what Notepad plus application. On user perspective, I can consider as an application, but the OS consider it as a process. There is a process running. Okay. Even you can see your task manager here. So in this task manager, if you can see, we have a lot of process up and running. I am running some foreground process and some background processes. Each and every process needs its own volume, the memory and CPU, disk and the network. So which component is taking care of all these things? Which is allocating the distributing the CPU and volume to your process means it is nothing but the architecture components of your operating system. And will be establishing communication between the process also. One process can communicate with another process, right? So all these things will be taken care by your inter-process communication. And there is another thing called process management here. You can see here, right? Process management. So that is what I was showing you here also. So if you want, you can able to create the process. You can able to suspend the process. Sometimes if a process is not working, you can able to kill the process, restart. And sometimes what happens, you have to, you can run the process, but you won't get the response from the process. All right. So all those things can be managed with the help of your process management. And any process you execute in a Linux machine, it will be allocated with one unique process ID. Using the process ID only, that process will be identified by other components and it will be used for communication. So for establishing communication also, it has to enable some networking there. Inter-process communication network has to be established. You see, these are all some core components. And another interesting factor here is any process you execute on your machine. Here I use something called Chrome, Edge, PowerPoint, out of processor up and running. Each and every process will be running in its own isolated address path. The execution of one process will not impact the other process. For example, here you can see 4.3% of CPU is being utilized by this Chrome browser. Similarly, this memory. So each and every process will be allocated in its own address space and it will be running in its own disk with its own memory and CPU. So the execution of one process will not impact the other process. Correct. And also the process, it can be a foreground process or background process. For example, this Notepad++ is my foreground process. While I'm running this, I cannot run, maybe I cannot handle another thing. But all these processes are running at the same time. Correct? So that is what the core objective and how the process can be executed in its own address space means by using these two components, control groups and namespace. So these are the two important components that provides an isolated environment to run any process. It allocates a unique process ID, the networking storage. So all these things will be allocated to each and every process by using this control group and namespace. So please remember these two terms alone at least, control groups and namespace, because tomorrow while working in our Docker module, we'll be predominantly using these two components to create the containers and other stuff. So what is the purpose of this control group and namespace means? It is used to provide an isolated environment to run any process. For each and every process, what are the components you need, like a storage component or networking or CPU, right? Everything will be independently allocated and it just isolates the process. You see, it's all some core working process of any OS. So it's not just for Linux. Even if you see any operating system, it's all common. And another interesting thing is user management. When we say user management, let's say I just log into this machine as an administrator. Can you see this? This is my admin ID. So as an administrator, I just log into the machine. Similarly, if any other user wants to access the same machine, what I can do, I can create a user profile for that user. And I can assign some privilege to the user. Privilege means like the authorization. What are the activities you can perform? As an administrator, I have a complete access to this machine. I can able to install any package, uninstall, I can do all admin actions here. But if any other user is expecting the thing to be done, depends upon their role, I can assign some access. Like we can have some guest users, we can have some developers, right? So the user authentication and authorization can be managed using this user management, security management. So user management is to create the user profile, and security management is used to take care of the authorization, the privileges to that user. And not only here, it also takes care of the components, the files and folders. Like for example, in your Windows machine, you have your C drive and D drive, right? Hope all are following, no? This C drive is promptly used for my operating system. And in a real-time environment, I never allow any user to directly create a file here. I'll be allocating a separate drive or a folder for that particular user. So all users can able to work on this particular drive, but they're not supposed to create anything here in this drive. So like that, I can able to limit the access for any user. That will be taken care by your security management. And Linux supports a very nice, effective security feature, because when compared to Windows, I said Linux is more secure. I'll talk about that in detail because that is something important for DevOps team as well, to understand security features and allow the users and the services to run. All right. So this is about the overview of your Linux and the architecture components. Any question? Yes, it is command line interface. It means through your commands only you can able to interact with the OS. We have the GUI version also for latest Linux versions, but I don't recommend, okay, because we are not going to use Linux as an end user. If you are going to use Linux as an end user, you can able to use the GUI version of your Ubuntu or other distributions. We are not going to learn about this actually. We'll be learning about the command lines only, because as an administrator, as a DevOps resource, you are going to interact and do some sort of actions there. Easy? Any question? If you have any question, let me know right away. There is no point in telling at the end. So please stop me if you're unable to understand anything, so that I can able to explain it again, or we can make things clear.
We make a quick review on kernel. What is mean by kernel?
Kernel is the core of the operating system, I said. Any
What's the
OS will
role?
be having the core component. It is just a piece of code, a binary, right? The executable, the package, which is used to manage other components, right? So when you install any software, you're installing the running that exe file, right? So that exe is the executable code of the particular software. Similarly, kernel is the executable unit of that operating system. Through this kernel, we are going to manage all these components like networking or storage and other stuff, right? And
Without kernel, you cannot able to do anything, right?
yes, that's right. And when it comes to your control groups, we cannot just talk about the control group control group alone. Control group is always associated with the namespace. So namespace and control groups to be used together. So what is the need for this namespace? Means it is going to create an isolated path or address space to execute any process on your computing environment. Like as I showed you, if you run any process, the process will be allocated with one unique process ID. It will be allocated with its own CPU, memory, everything, right? So using namespace, we can able to create that isolated environment. We means the kernel can able to create the isolated environment for the process. Once the isolated path is enabled, for example, consider in my computing environment, I have the underlying hardware and we have the operating system. And now I want to run one application. So on OS perspective, this application is called as a process, right? So to run this process, I need some space. I need some CPU utilization, right? I need some networking to access, right? So all these things will be provided with the help of your control group. Clear? So namespace will isolate the process, create an isolated environment to the process, and control group can able to create all the associate components like process ID, the network ID, the storage, everything will be allocated with the help of your control groups. Easy? Am I clear?
Yes, Loksai.
All right. So it is completely a command line interface or command use interface. The terminology, right? We can able to use. Now, the next item in the list is about the distributions. So we have to be very clear about this actually. So the Linux distribution means it is, as I said, Linux is an open source, right? It is an open source operating system. The source code is available, readily available in market, open market. Anyone can able to make necessary changes and they can able to release their own version. That is how the evolution of Linux, right? Starting from Unix environment. So the versions are the various, components of your Linux, right, are categorized in the form of distributions. So you can simply consider it as the versions or types of Linux OS. Simple. Distributions are nothing but the various versions or types of any Linux operating system. Or we can also call it as a flavors. Usually use a term flavor. Linux OS, which flavor of Linux you're using. Like that, we just use the terminology. Okay. So in general, there are various types of distributions. Okay. So it can be based upon your CentOS or RHEL or Debian, Fedora. Hmm? So if you're talking about the types of Linux versions or flavors of Linux version OS, we have something called CentOS or RHEL. And we can use Debian or Ubuntu. So based upon this distribution only, we'll be choosing the package manager. Okay, and we can able to use Fedora also. Okay, so these are the various distributions of Linux. Using this distribution, you can able to create your Linux operating system and start running your applications. It's something like when you use Windows, right? We have various versions of Windows, no? Like we are talking about Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows XP, Windows Network, right? Windows Community Edition, Professional Edition with some advanced features, Windows Servers, Server Edition. So Windows OS itself, it is having a lot of versions. Depends upon the use case, depends upon the user requirement. We can able to utilize those versions. Similarly, in Linux also we have various flavors, and it can be considered as a CentOS or RHEL. Red Hat Enterprise Linux, RHEL means. Okay, at enterprise level, we'll be using RHEL and Ubuntu and all. And Ubuntu and all can be considered as a very, user-friendly operating system. It supports GUI-based interaction with the applications. And all the latest version also, we can able to enable some GUI. It is possible. So it is just an advancement, okay? Like consider today we are using Ubuntu. if I find there is some features to be added, I can able to enhance it. So that enhanced version of Ubuntu, I can release as a new version or a new distribution. So that is how the evolution of Linux is happening here. Clear with this? So when compared to all these distributions, right, there are a lot of common things, but there are some unique things you need to consider that is used to differentiate the process. Okay, I'll talk about that. What are the roles and responsibilities? What you're going to work on it? Everything I'll show you. As of now, just keep these terminologies in mind. Even you people already accessed your Amazon. There we use something called Amazon Linux. Anyone use this? Amazon Linux?
Yes, I did it. Yes.
So Amazon Linux is one of the distributions. Okay, it is one of the Linux based operating systems, AMI we can consider on AWS perspective. So this is the AWS, Amazon's proprietary product. Got it? And any idea based upon which distribution it was developed? Based upon, let's say if you want to do some enhancement, Amazon has created their own version of Linux and released it as Amazon Linux 2. So based upon which base image or base operating system they have prepared this?
Linux.
Hmm?
Kernel.
Come again?
Linux.
Linux.
Kernel.
Kernel is common for any like distribution. Okay, kernel is just a core of the operating system, right? So your Linux,
So you're asking
Amazon
about the
Linux
distribution.
distribution. So this Amazon Linux 2 is based on Fedora distribution. Okay. If you see the properties of the Linux, Amazon Linux, they use a Fedora distribution and created their own version. If you log into that Amazon Linux, you can able to understand its architecture and other components. So it is based upon the Fedora distribution. Right. It's not Debian. Right. So I'll show you how to differentiate these distributions and what are the key factors that differentiates everything. We'll see one by one. All right. So before that, you guys have any question? Okay. So as I said already, in our Linux environment, our main agenda is to run some Linux applications, Linux-based applications. So any application we use in our Linux machines, it's all called as a packages. Okay, packages. So for example, so when we talk about the packages, there are some package managers that are responsible to install, uninstall, or upgrade those packages. For example, in your Windows machine, if you want to install this software, what you need? I
Setup
hope you all
files.
using Windows, right? Huh?
Setup file.
Of course, yeah, setup file should be there. Then which component is responsible to install that software?
exe.
Exe is just a type of that software, right? Executable. You got my question, right? In this Windows machine, if you want to install any software or any package, how you'll do that? So for any computing environment, there'll be a package manager. In Windows, we call it as a Windows installer. Have you heard about the term Windows installer? Hmm? When you try to download any software through internet or if you try to run any exe, first your Windows installer will pop up. and check whether you want to install or not. It'll ask for the confirmation, right? Have you
Yes.
noticed?
Yeah,
So in Windows machines, that Windows installer is considered as a package manager through which we can able to install, uninstall, or upgrade the packages. Similarly, on your Linux machines, also there are some package managers through which we can able to manage your packages. Package means any software you want to install, uninstall, or upgrade. So that makes a difference between these distributions. So if you're using your CentOS or RHEL as a distribution, you'll be using Yum package manager. Yum is one of the package managers used in this distribution. And if you're using Debian or Ubuntu based distribution, we'll be using apt or apt-get package manager. Guys, now we are entering into the core DevOps process. Okay, all these points, all these terms you have to remember. It's very much important. So Yum is a package manager that can be used in your CentOS or RHEL distribution, and apt in short we use in Ubuntu or Debian. Or if you're using Fedora distribution means you'll be using DNF package manager. The latest version of Fedora uses DNF package manager, and the previous version of Fedora uses Yum package manager. All right. And how to execute a package or any package manager means that can be executed as a root user. Root user means the admin user. I'll talk about that root user and how to navigate to the root user and all in some time. But
Put some
as an
close
administrator
cover.
only, we can able to install or manage any packages in your Linux. Any question? Guys, any question? Can able to follow this or any doubts?
No, not so far, Loksai, because this much I already did with the what was the other one? Castro V.
Yeah, no problem. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Otherwise, it's okay.
Yeah, but
And how about, yeah,
he was teaching Linux on the AWS AMI, AWS AMI, which was AWS Linux. And you said that we will be using the distribution, Fedora distribution for the AWS Linux, right?
no, I never said like that. AWS Amazon Linux, right, was
Uh-huh.
developed using Fedora distribution.
Okay.
Okay, the base of that Amazon Linux AMI, it is from the Fedora image. That's it. That's what I mean to say there.
Uh-huh.
So throughout our process, we'll be using a Ubuntu distribution.
Ubuntu
In all the
distribution.
upcoming modules, we'll be using Ubuntu. Don't worry
Okay.
on that level. Don't get in that level now. Just go with the flow. We'll see how to work on that. Hmm?
Okay.
Fine. How about others? Any other questions from anyone? For people who are completely new to this, the terminologies might be strange, but don't worry, okay? Just see the progress. Maybe today and tomorrow or end of the week, in next 4 days, you can able to be comfortable in all these things, handling all these things. There's an incremental process, right? So you'll get to know about all these things one by one in detail. So at least you can able to understand the terms and the benefits of using Linux here, right? Yes, no?
Yeah.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Or any question from anyone? Hmm? Guys, please utilize this time. You can consider the QA session and you can able to ask your questions. Because only if you're confident with these things, we can able to proceed to the next level. With some doubts, it's very difficult. All good?
Yes, everything is good so
Yeah,
far.
good.
Not sure why others are not responding. You can use a chat window, right? Yes or no? Anyone, everyone can able to respond through chat, right? All are active, right? Actively available online, no? I can hear some voices, very common, very frequent voices. Apart from that, all others are being a silent audience. What's the problem? Started the meeting and doing some other task. Multitasking or what?
No doubts, looks like.
Okay, thanks. Okay, fine, no problem. Thank you. At least, yeah, you can use the chat because that continuous interaction only, makes me to confidently proceed next level, right? Because we are not in a classroom session. If you are in classroom session, just by looking at your face, it's like you will figure out whether you can able to understand or not. But here it is completely virtual. So only through your response, I can able to confidently move to the next topic. So please ensure that you share that feedback every time, not just at the end. Fine. So now we have to get into the very important thing. That is, I understood the benefits of Linux now. I can see what are the components of Linux OS. But as a DevOps engineer, what I'm going to do here, why I should learn Linux, what will be my day-to-day activities on this Linux machine. So that you need to be very clear. If you're clear with that agenda, then only you can able to understand your day-to-day work and activities. All right. So as I said already, we are planning this entire session based upon Linux perspective, DevOps perspective, right? So before you start working on this Linux operating system, you need to be very clear about your role. Okay. So what is the role of DevOps team or a DevOps engineer on Linux? So why we are going to use Linux means all the DevOps tools and the services we are going to install and manage in our Linux machines. We never use Windows machines to install the packages. Again, it is depends upon the company's process. If you have any Windows machines and if you want to use it, we can use that also because DevOps tools can be installed in any platform. But predominantly, we recommend to use Linux. Why? Because it is very lightweight and it is not having much maintenance activities. It is secured and it is very easy to manage. That is what the main agenda. And unnecessarily no need to spend for your operating system. If you're using Windows means it is a licensed product, right? But here Linux is not going to consume any license cost. That is the reason we install all the DevOps tools on your Linux machine. So as a DevOps team, what is your role here means we are responsible to ensure that these DevOps tools are installed and up and running in this machine. Let's say, for example, we have Git as one of the tools. Jenkins is one of the DevOps tools. Docker is a tool. So all these tools we are going to install in the next machine. It is completely our responsibility. DevOps team should install it. That is what we call as a package management. It is not just about installing that package. We have to do some periodic upgrade also matters. Like for example, if I install Jenkins means today I can install the latest version of Jenkins. Down the line after 3 months or 6 months, I have to review the product and I need to go for proper upgrade. And also it is our responsibility to take care of the backup of the tools. Because we are just going to install this tool in one machine. What if the machine is down? We'll be losing the entire application. So we have to take care of the periodic backup as well. And next important thing is managing the remote servers. As a DevOps team, we are responsible to manage the remote servers that are associated with DevOps. For example, tomorrow while working on our Jenkins module, Jenkins is basically a client server architecture. You'll be having a client machine and the master machine. So interaction between the client and server, right, should be taken care by DevOps team, the secure connections. Similarly, tomorrow while working on your various environments like build environment to test environment, from test environment to production environment. So how the communication happens between those servers, all those things are taken care by your team. So that's what managing remote servers. It can be a client server architecture where we can have one server can able to manage multiple client machines. You see, I'll give you one small example. You guys are aware of the security patches, right? Like at enterprise level, if I'm working on a project, I'll be provided with my workstation. And it is a responsibility of the infrastructure management team to periodically update my system security patches, right? Every month it happens. Hope you're aware of it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
correct.
in order to do that security patch updates, whether the IT person will physically get into my desk and do that activity? No.
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 They will connect my machine to their server. Through remote connection, we can able to establish the communication and able to install all the required packages on the target machine. So these client machines are considered as the target machines. Server is something used by the administrators. So from that server, they can communicate to this client machine and do all sort of package updates, everything. So that is what the remote server management. You see how securely we're connecting to the target machine, everything. That's it. Ultimately, this is what we are going to do as a DevOps resource on Linux machines. But to implement this, there are few activities we have to be performing on daily basis. So what you are going to learn throughout this module, Linux module, means as a DevOps team, we are going to manage Linux machines on these areas. So first and foremost thing is your package management. Like any package, any software you want to install on your Linux machine, how to install it, which package manager we're going to use it. Like I mentioned, there are some package managers like yum, apt and all, right? So which package manager we're going to use for that purpose? That is one thing. And file management, like how to create a file, how to create a folder, how to secure the folder, how to give access to the folder. All those things will be running on the file management. And then the user management, that means how we can allow the user to log into the machine. From your server, if you want to connect to your client, you should be an authorized person to connect to the client, right? So how to create the user ID and how to establish the secure user, connection to the server, that will be learning in this user management. And access management, it is something used to provide some additional privileges. Upon once user is authenticated, whether he is having authorization or not, that will be taken care by his access management. And then the remote server management. As I said, we can able to understand how to set up more than one servers and interact, establish connection between those servers. Easy. And finally, we'll be learning about some basic process automation using shell scripts. So what are all the activities you are doing it manually, you can able to automate through shell scripts. Shell scripts are nothing but some collection of Linux commands. Got it? So we'll be learning about that as well. Any question? This is what you can learn as part of this module. And I'll be showing you all the things that demo. Am I clear?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the remote service management means like we will create different servers like VMs, is it?
Yes, VMs. That's right.
Okay.
As I said here, we can have one server and have multiple client machines connected to the server.
Yeah, got it.
All right. Fine. So now how to start with this? And if I'm telling you, if you are clear with all these things, What are things I'm going to teach you for next 2-3 days? Okay, if you're clear with all these things, then I'm sure that you can able to work on any DevOps tools in future. Any complex DevOps setup you can able to do in future. That is what we're going to learn. You see? So now, how to start, how to work on it. So as I said, all these things I'm going to produce through some live demo. So we need a lab environment for this practice. Got it? So what I strongly recommend is, first thing is you need to create a free tier account. You can use your AWS cloud platform. If you already have an account, that's fine. Ignore it. But if you're completely new, I strongly recommend to create one free tier account on AWS cloud platform. And to create this account, there are some prerequisites. So like you need to have your active email ID. And you should have your active mobile number as well as a credit or debit card which is eligible with international transaction. So to create this free tier account, you need an active email ID, mobile number, as well as you need one credit or debit card. This should be eligible with the international transaction. All right. So these are 3 important inputs required to create an account. If you want, I can show you the steps to create it. Anyone it to create, or like you already have? If you already have, then I don't
I
waste your
have
time.
it.
I have.
People who don't have, then I can talk about it. That's what. Because it is something done from your own personal account. Okay. So anyone yet to create this account?
Yes, I need to.
Yes, I am going to create.
Okay, fine. Fine then. So I'll share the link through which you can able to create this account. So this is the one. Okay, so if you get into this link here, you can able to see something called sign into console, right? So if you click on this sign into console option, it will take you to a page. I think I already logged in. Let me log off first. So in your case, if you click on this sign into console, it will take you to your login page. And from here as well, you can see something called create new AWS account. For the very first time, if you want to access your AWS console, you'll be using this option. And if you click on this create new AWS account, from there your process starts. Like this is a landing page to create an account. Okay, I just mentioned everything in your class notes. I'll be sharing these notes by end of the session. So why you need this AWS cloud platform? Okay, let's have a quick intro to that one first, so that it'll be easy for you to relate the things. So okay, so what does the need for this means? We are going to create virtual machines. Okay, we are going to create a virtual machine. Why you want to create a virtual machine means in this virtual machine only we're going to install and work with DevOps tools. Starting from your Git, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, what are all the tools we have mentioned so far? All these tools we are going to install on this VMs. If required, you can install it on a local machine also. In your local machine also, you can able to install all the DevOps tools, but it is not recommended because each and every tool has its own set of configurations, need its own volumes, right? So if you try to dump all these tools on a local machine, it will degrade the performance of local machine. Correct. So we rely on some external servers to manage our tools. This is one of the reasons. And why we choose AWS means AWS provides a free tier account for you can able to avail it for 12 months actually. $12. Okay. So for this 12 months, you can able to create your AWS resources, like you can able to create some VMs and other associated IT resources, and you can able to practice it for 12 months. There are some limitations, monthly limitations are there. If it exceeds the limitation, then you need to be, you'll be charged for it. But if you properly monitor the usage and utilize the resource effectively, you won't be charged for anything. Easy. So I'll show you how to create the resources, how to create the VM and all. I'll talk about it while we progress. Right? Fine. So any question before we move on? Or yeah, no problem. If you want to have a quick break, please go ahead. I don't have any issues. How much time you need? 5 minutes?
Sir,
Yeah.
yeah, as you said, we will not download it on local machine as it will degrade the performance of our machine. So, why don't we use the virtual window? So, like we are using virtual Linux virtually. So, can't we use virtual window to install the software?
Virtual Windows means in your local machine, you want to set up your VMs?
No, as you say that on local machine it will degrade our performance. Like
That's
we
what
are
the virtual
using
window means. What do you mean by that? From where you going to
we are
have it?
like we are using AWS to down AWS to use the Linux, right? We are using AWS. So can't we use the AWS to run the window?
Ah, okay. See, Windows is just an operating system, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that operating system, it can be a Linux operating system or Windows operating system. That's not an issue. So even you can use your AWS platform to launch your Windows machines. Got it?
Okay.
But here, our intention is to use Linux,
Okay.
right? So we are going to create an account on AWS platform and create the virtual machine. And these virtual machines will be of type Linux, not Windows.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it. I'll show you. Don't worry. I'll show you about it. So just have a
Sorry,
5 minutes break is sufficient, right? Please go ahead. Okay. It can't give more than that. Just take 5 minutes break. Just refresh
Lokesh,
yourself and come back, please. Yeah. Tell me, please.
I just checked that AWS Cloud link, and when I sign up, it is showing some to log in. Don't have login credentials.
I strongly
I don't.
recommend don't do anything now. While I'm delivering, please observe what we are discussing. You can do all those activities offline. based upon the understanding, you can able to do it, because we haven't reached to that level. I'll show you how to create an account first, and then only you can able to log in, right?
That what only I tried to create an account when I provided the email ID.
No.
And
Just go with the flow. I'll let you know how to do that.
okay.
And people, please do not practice anything while I'm delivering, because you'll be losing the context. You can understand. If you're unable to follow anything, you can ask me. I can explain it again. You can practice all those things offline. Got it? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm here. If others, if you have anything to discuss, you can, no problem. So what is the difference between a VM and VM? We'll talk about it. Yeah, don't worry. We'll talk about the architecture of the cloud resources.
Sir, you mentioned as a root user, right?
Yeah,
May I know what is the mean by root user, whether it is current user or some other else?
no. Root user on Linux perspective, we consider as an admin user. Like here in my Windows machine, I have admin user, right?
Administrator.
Administrator. Similarly, in your Linux machine, the administrator accesses something achieved through a root user ID. Root is just a user ID there.
We can have only one root user or
Yeah,
multiple.
yeah, one user, one root user. If you want, you can create another user and give some privilege as like administrator. Mhm. All right. So hope all are back. Shall we continue?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
All right.
Yes, yes, sir.
Fine. So ultimately, we are going to use our AWS Cloud Platform to create the virtual machines. Okay, the VMs we can consider, right? So why we need this? Okay, so just a quick background of this. I'm not going to get in detail about this AWS resources, but just to start your activities, you need to have some background of this. So consider a scenario. I'm having my local machine. I'm using my local Windows machine with Windows operating system. And in my local machine, I have around 16 GB of RAM and 2 CPU. The core to Duo CPU, I have 2 CPU processor running in my machine. And in this machine, I am able to execute some Windows applications, right? Correct? What all the applications we are executing here, it's all based upon Windows only, correct? Agree?
Yes. Yes.
Now, my requirement is I want to run some Linux-based applications. Is it possible? Whether this Windows OS can support Linux application?
Yes, sir.
No.
No.
By default, it is not possible. Similarly, if I want to execute some Mac OS based applications, is it possible on Windows?
No.
Not
No.
possible. If I want to run any Android applications or ZOS applications or iOS applications, it's not possible on Windows machine. So this machine is meant only to run my Windows based applications by default. So how I can run my Linux application now on top of this? For that, what I can do means I can able to use a concept called VM. So the entire system, whatever I have here, right? I can simply split this into various machines. This is my VM 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this VM 1 is based upon my Linux OS. VM 2 can be based upon Mac OS. This can be another distribution of Linux like Ubuntu, and this can be my Fedora distribution. So on top of this operating system, I can able to run some virtual machines. But how it is possible means by using the intermediate command called hypervisor. Hypervisor, it is a kind of a middleware product through which you can able to create the virtual machines. And these virtual machines are used to run some operating systems and its applications. Okay. And when we create a VM, it is going to run the operating system, right? So to run this operating system, it needs some computing configurations, like it needs some CPUs, it needs some RAM, everything. So it is going to procure all those resources from the underlying hardware. So if I have around 16 GB of RAM means the 16 GB of RAM will be shared with all these VMs. Are you listening? So how many OS I have here in this machine now?
5.
5 operating system, including my base OS. So all these 5 operating systems are going to use my underlying hardware, like CPU and memory will be shared with all these things. The 16 GB RAM and 2 CPUs, I think it is okay to run these 5 OS simultaneously. But instead of 5, if I want to execute around 20 VMs, and I want to run all these 20 VMs at the same time, is that possible with this configuration?
Will lag.
So definitely there'll be some performance degradation happens. Your base machine will not support these 20 plus virtual machines to run simultaneously, because just with 16 GB RAM, how much you can do, right? So this is the main reason. So in order to overcome this issue, what you can do, either you can go ahead and increase the underlying configuration. You can add more RAM and more CPUs to support these 20 VMs, which involves your upfront investment. You have to pay from your pocket and you have to invest for this. Correct? Yes or no? So for our DevOps module also, for each and every module, starting from Jenkins till your Kubernetes, Prometheus, at least we need 14 to 15 VMs to complete our entire training program. We are going to install that many VMs, create that many VMs to work on the DevOps modules. So if you want to use 14 to 15 VMs, you cannot use your local machine to configure it. That's what I told you. If you try to manage in local machine, it will degrade the performance of local machine. So what is an alternative for this? I can adopt to my cloud platform. Because cloud service provider, they are providing the VMs for free, right? So I can able to use any of the cloud providers like Amazon or Azure or Google Cloud Platform, and I can quickly create a free tier account there, right? And I can able to avail their service for 12 months. For 12 months, I can able to create any number of VMs and start utilizing it. So that is the main reason why we use a cloud platform. Any question? Hope you're clear,
No,
right?
look,
All of you.
Yeah.
Fine.
yes.
So cloud platform also is not something different. Okay, it is also same as like our computing environment, as like how you have your local machine. In cloud platform also we have various regions. Like if you're talking about AWS, right? AWS have various regions actually. Regions are the geographical locations where they have the data centers. All these things we can consider data center. That is what technically they call as availability zone. So data centers are the location where they have their servers. All these servers are high-end servers. Consider this is one data center available in our Indian location. In this data center, I have their server. Correct. So this is a virtual server located in one of their data centers. Correct. And if you want to create any VM using AWS, depends upon the region which you choose, right? In that region, in one particular server, you'll be provided with one VM. And the server, whatever they have, it is not like our local machine. They'll be having a high-end configuration, which can support n number of VMs to be created there. So VMs are just a small portion of that server, which we're going to use. And we don't know in which server they're going to allocate, because a data center can have multiple servers. So on end user perspective, we are not sure about which server it is running. Today, when you launch the machine, it might be launched in this server. When you restart, they'll be allocating a different one. So it depends upon the availability. Got it? That's what the scheduling means. So that is the reason it is called as a virtual machine, which is virtual from the user perspective. And at any time, you can quickly connect to the machine and access it. Easy. And to create this virtual machine also, you'll be specifying your configurations, like how much RAM you need, how much CPU you need, everything. Hope you're clear, right? Why we go for AWS or any cloud platform. It is just to save your upfront investment. That's all. If you get an opportunity to learn about cloud computing, there you'll be learning about many things related to cloud services and all. Easy. Fine. So first, let's see how to create an account. So to create an account, I said these are the parameters required. That is your email ID, mobile number, and your credit or debit card number. And you can use this link to access it. think this is what I have shared with you, right? So just enter your email ID. While giving an email ID for account creation process, ensure that the email ID was not used previously. Got it? Let's say some of them might be having their AWS account, which is outdated. If it is 12 months old, don't use it. Or even if it is 6 months or 7 months old also, I recommend not to use it because you have just 4 months time, right? So check if you can able to accommodate everything there. Enter your email ID and you can give your account name as per your choice. It should be unique. And through that account name only, your billing and your identity will be defined. And once you enter your account name, you can click on this verify email. When you click on verify email, there is a email verification process happens. It will verify your email ID and you'll be getting the email notification to that ID. They'll be providing you one link. Okay, so once that email is verified, on the next page, it'll ask you for the contact details and other stuff. So if you want, I'll share one document with you. Like I have a separate documentation to create AWS free tier account. One
Sir,
second.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, sir, actually, yeah, we are pursuing like we are continue the class. So, when AWS are login from my credentials, so after that, how to sir all these the like labs, how to do that? Is this possible to this free account is all the labs or hands-on experience in this in these classes able to do?
Yeah, it is possible.
Okay.
See, understand the basics, okay? Like, for example, consider you want to work in Jenkins module, right? Jenkins is one of the DevOps tools. If you want to work in Jenkins module, you have to install Jenkins on your local machine, correct? In your local machine, you can able to install. Instead of that, what I'm expecting is just create a VM in your cloud platform and start using that. Like this, all your upcoming modules, all the DevOps tools which you're going to practice, for each and every tool, you can create your own VM and practice it. It's possible. Is that answer the question?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So yes, so if you can follow this document, okay, like this is just like a reference for you. Like this is the landing page, okay. Like when you click on this AWS free the console, you can create an account where it will ask for the email ID and the username to create. Once you enter your email ID and the account name, upon email verification, it will take you to the next page where you can able to create your password. You can able to create a password as per their passwords policy. And once the password is created, please do remember the password. And the next step, it
Sir,
will ask
also
for,
I have also one question because my I have an already account more than 3 year ago. So my account is already sir not able to do anything is because it's free of cost is
I told you
expired.
already, if your account is outdated, if it is more than 12 months, you can create a new account. Don't use the same, right? Are you getting my point?
Okay, sir.
So if it
Understand.
is even if it is more than 7 or 8 months itself, I recommend to create a new account so that you can able to manage all your upcoming 4 months of training in one account. Correct.
Okay, sir.
So the process is once you set up your email ID and your password, it will take you to the next page where you can able to fill in all your contact information like this. Like what type of account you're going to create. Just choose account type as personal. Okay, it is meant for an individual user. Just create a personal account. If you go with a professional account means It might be taking it to a different route, which involves some billing and all. So choose account type as personal and key in all the required parameters like your full name, your phone number, your contact region, everything. It is just for
And
billing purpose.
okay.
Okay,
And sir,
listen,
now
listen,
one.
listen, listen, please. Let me complete this. We'll talk because others are listening. Okay, let's not disturb the flow. I'll address the question sometime. So now, after entering all these input parameters, okay, it's all just for billing purpose. Ensure that you give all your valid details here. And then if you click on create account on the next page, it will expect you to enter the payment details. When you say payment details, you have to key in your active credit or debit card number. All the details you have to enter. It's all mandatory fields. And for the card verification, it will be deducting around 2 rupees in Indian currency. Just 2 INR will be deducted from your card. And that amount will be immediately within 24 hours, it gets refunded. And they will be using this card only for verification purpose. That's all. Without your knowledge, they won't deduct anything for your billing. Any upcoming bills you have, they won't deduct anything without your knowledge. So you can very well share your credit card details for verification and ensure that the card is eligible with the international transaction. That is also one of the important point because sometimes we'll be using our card within our local limit, right? You cannot use that card here. So if your card is not having that international transaction enablement, check with your banker or online banking and upgrade your card. That's enough. And then you can see it will take the amount, and once card is verified, then it will go for the phone number verification. It will expect you to enter your mobile number. Correct. And the mobile number which you are entering here, you'll be getting the notification, the SMS notification will be sent with the OTP kind of code. Enter that code to verify your mobile number. That's it. So with this, your email ID, your credit or debit card, and the mobile number will be verified. Upon verifying all these parameters, it will take you to the next page where you have to choose the plan. What type of account you're going to create. There are various plans available. So it is recommended to choose a basic plan which is eligible for free tier, which is free of cost. Apart from that, if you choose any other plan, you can see the billing details here, monthly charges. So ensure that you choose a basic plan and proceed next. That's it. Within few seconds, your account will be active. Your activation notification will be sent to your email ID also for confirmation. So once the account is active, all that you can do here is you can go to your AWS console. Okay. From here, you can click on the sign in button and you are going to log into this AWS console as a root user. From this page, just click on sign in as a root user. Don't use the default option as IAM ID and all. It's not required here. Just select sign in as a root user and you'll be getting this page. Enter the email ID. See here it is a root user ID. So enter the email ID that you use to create an account. And on the next page, it will ask for the password. Enter the password. And if you enable the multi-factor authentication, it will expect you to enter that multi-factor authentication code. Okay, let me enter my code here. It is optional. If you want, you can able to create it later point of time, but it is recommended to have one. Got it? So it will allow you to log into your console. So this is how your AWS console looks like. Any question now? Yeah, what's the question? Can you please ask me now?
Yes, sir. So my question is, actually, I have an one off account or my office account. Okay. So can we use this because my office is allowed to use? So can we use this?
If you don't have any restriction, you can use it.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
sometimes your office account might not allow your open source tools. Like you cannot directly access your GitHub. You cannot download any softwares through internet. There may be some firewall restrictions. If that is the case, you cannot do any actions on that machine.
Okay. So in that case, I need to create a new account for my new mail ID.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So any other questions, guys?
Oh, no, sir.
So tomorrow before you join the session, I'm expecting you, every one of you, to have an AWS account and ensure that you can able to log into that account. Is that possible?
Yes.
So I given you the list. If you want, I can share this PDF. It is just a reference, okay? It can give you the steps to understand. User interface might not be the same, but the process is the same. Got it? So what you can do, you can just create an account and ensure that you can able to log into the account. That's enough. All right. So difference between virtual machines and virtual server. So virtual machine means it is a individual computing environment where you can able to install and work on your application packages. The group of such virtual machines we can consider as servers, because based upon that VM, I can able to mimic another VM. I can able to clone another VM. Correct. So a group of a similar VMs with same properties can be considered as the virtual servers there. Is that clear? Ajit, right?
Yes, clear.
All right. So what next? All right. So now let's understand the AWS console. Okay, like once your login is successful, so create a free tier account with the basic plan. Okay, once this is done, the next important thing is login to AWS console. So to log into AWS console, this is a link you can consider. Okay, as a root user. That means you have to enter your email ID and password that you use to create your account. All right, please do remember the password. If you forget the password, then again you have to raise a request, and a lot of things are there. Don't lose all these things. Okay, when you create an account as a responsible admin, you should be able to take care of all these entities. So once the login is successful, then you can able to access to AWS console. Okay, so AWS console means it is a user interface. Through web browser, you are going to interact with AWS services. Through web browser, we are going to interact with AWS services. Okay, for that we use this AWS console. So if you are completely new to this console, listen carefully. On top right, you can see your account name, which was created. And then just before that, you can see something called regions. Like we have something called Mumbai as a default region, which I chosen. So regions are nothing but the geographical locations where you have your AWS cloud resources are located, like data centers. It is always recommended to use the region that is nearest to your current location. For example, I'm accessing this account from India. So in India, in Mumbai region, I have a data center. So I can choose this one. If you are choosing the region that is far from your current location, it might lead to some additional cost because the data transmission rate, the number of bytes you transfer, right? The distance that also used to bill your account. So ensure that you choose the region that is nearest to your current location. And in a real-time environment for production-based implementation, we can choose more than one region to deploy our applications. It is possible. I'll talk about that during a Kubernetes module. Correct. So this is about the region. Ensure that you choose a region because the VMs, whatever we're going to create, right? The VMs are region specific. The VM which you create in one region cannot be accessible in another region by default. Okay, so first and foremost thing is once you log into your AWS account, change your region to the nearest location. That's enough. Easy. Now, on the left side, you can see your service catalog. These are the various services provided by AWS. Okay, so out of this, we are going to use a service from compute, that is EC2. So we are going to use EC2 service. EC2 means like a elastic compute service. So it is just a term used to refer your virtual machine or a VM. Normally we use the term VM, right, to refer the virtual machines. But these guys, they have used the term as EC2 instance. So using this EC2 service, we can able to create EC2 instances. All right. Using this EC2 service, we can able to create the EC2 instances. Easy. So how to create this means just go to a console and then top right, you can see the service catalog and navigate to that service, or from the search bar itself, we can able to enter EC2 and click on this EC2 service. And using this, we can able to create some VMs. So this is your EC2 instance dashboard. From here, you can able to access your EC2 instance, the instance which are up and running, or instance whatever you created, the volumes associated to that, everything. Right. So shall we quickly create one instance now? Okay. But before we create an instance, there are something you need to consider, like instances. So when I say working with the EC2 instance, first we have to create an EC2 instance. Okay. And while creating this EC2 instance, right, you have to choose the instance type. This is one parameter. And you have to choose the AMI. AMI means Amazon Machine Image. that is used to identify the type of OS. I told you, right? Virtual machines are just the computing environment. In that computing environment, we are going to use the operating system. So which OS you are going to use to create this VM? That is decided through this AMI. We have a lot of images available like Amazon Linux. Okay. Or Ubuntu or Windows. Like this, there are a lot of images available. Based upon your requirement, we can able to choose the one. And the instance type, it is used to set up your CPU and memory requirement, the RAM requirement. So how much CPU you need, how much RAM you need, that will be decided by this instance type. And in addition to that, there's something called key pair. So these key pairs are used to securely log into EC2 instance. So it means I can create a VM here. But once a VM is created, how I can able to log into the VM? For that, we have to prepare the user authentication, right? So here, the authentication can be done using key pairs. So key pairs are used to securely log into your EC2 instance. We have various authentication methods. Tomorrow, while working on this Linux module, while working on this remote server management, I'll talk about that in detail. But for now, on high level, if you want to understand the authentication methods or types, so promptly we'll be using the SSH connection to any remote server. Okay. So to enable the SSH connection, SSH means secure shell connection. Secure shell connection to any remote server. There are various types of authentication. The very first thing we can consider like a password based. That's what we do, right? Even if you want to log into Windows machine, what you do, you set up your username and password. So using this username and password, you can log in. That is one method. Second method is a token based. So compared to password, I can able to generate some random token number. The size of the token can be starting from 16 bytes, right? Which is more secure when compared to password. And the third type of authentication, it can be your key based authentication. Here you'll be provided with the public key or authorized key, and then your private key. So based upon these combination of public and private key, we can able to enable more secure connection to the remote server. And the third and the final type can be considered as a passwordless. So passwordless means it is done within the closed network. If all the remote servers are within your network, within your secure network, then there is no need of giving the password to that machine because it's already secure. It is already within my network, right? If you have multiple VMs which are created within a same network, which is highly secured, in that case, every time you need to enter your credential to log into that server. It is already secured environment. So I can go with the passwordless authentication also. Got it? So like this, we have various types of authentication methods available to establish a connection to remote server. Out of this, we are going to use a key-based authentication. So using this key pair, we are going to securely connect to your EC2 instance. This is the third parameter needed to launch your VM. You see? And in addition to that, we need some network components like VPC, and then we need some security group. Okay. And optionally, you can use some name or a tag. So these are some parameters. But since you're using your free tier account, unnecessarily don't create any number of VMs or unwanted number of storage security groups. Even the volume also required, right? So unnecessarily don't create anything new, just go with the default properties. So to create any VM, these are the 3 important parameters to be considered. Apart from that, all other parameters are optional. It can pick up the default values, but ensure that you choose these 3 things properly. Right. So any question on these authentication types and other stuff?
No,
Understandable,
as
right?
of now, no. Yeah.
Okay, so in the next session, I will show you how to launch an EC2 instance. Okay, and we'll be using Ubuntu based AMI. Ubuntu, if you want, you can use a previous version. Always we consider the stable version, previous version as stable version, so we can use Ubuntu 22.04 version. This is the previous version of Ubuntu machine. You can choose. So using this Ubuntu operating system or distribution, we are going to launch one VM, and the instance type will be of a T2 micro, which is eligible for free tier. I'll show you tomorrow how to create that option. And once the instances are launched, we are going to log in to, log in or connect to EC2 instance. So in order to connect to the EC2 instance itself, we have a lot of options available. We are going to follow this secure shell connection. So we are going to connect to EC2 instance using SSH connection. Got it? So we have a lot of methods to connect to that VM. Like you can able to use your SS agent, or you can use your simple command prompt to implement the changes. So I'll be talking about all those things. And then once you connect to that node, then only you can able to work with Linux. So we'll be working on all these things. First, I'll start with the package management, file management, and all other activities one by one. So this is the flow. Am I clear with this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got the objective, right? What we are going to do. Everything, all these topics will be having a detailed demo once we establish a connection to that server. You see? If you have any question, please let me know now, based upon today's discussion or yesterday's session. It's day 2 or day 3? Day 3, right? It's 28th. Okay. So I'll update this in your repository.
So
Under
are we,
Linux module, I'll be updating this. Yeah, tell me, what is it?
are we going to learn about all the cloud services like AWS, Azure, and GCP?
No,
Okay, because we were told that it is a multi-cloud course. That's why.
you have the course curriculum, right?
Yeah, we
Yesterday I
have.
shared. So what are the topics we have mentioned as per the course curriculum? We'll be proceeding. Don't worry on that.
Okay.
So this is for Linux for today. Credentials. Okay. So that's it. Yes, I'm opening the poll now. Yeah, please respond to that. And when you say not clear or something, I need a justification. Okay, simply you can't say not clear and all. Okay. So what next? Yeah, I hope you all have access to the link, right? So if you want, I can upload one more document here for your account creation. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll be uploading one file here. Any other question, guys, while we progress?
In this course, the AWS cloud services is to be covered, right?
We'll be covering the Azure related DevOps services.
Okay. So
Right.
we are going to, in this course, we are going to cover the AWS service and Azure DevOps project,
See,
right?
listen, please.
Yeah.
Yesterday itself, I showed you this link, document, right? We are going to take care of all the open source DevOps tools till your Prometheus and Grafana, and then we'll be moving into the Azure cloud services. We'll be learning about the fundamentals of all the Azure cloud services along on the DevOps perspective. Right? That's it.
Okay, then the AWS and DCB will be covered by some other questions.
Yes, it'll be scheduled separately if you're part of the training.
Okay.
Right?
Sir,
So,
can you
yes.
allow to share my screen?
What's the question?
Sir, actually, I have a problem regarding the sir GitHub project. Whatever you submit, sir, I'm not able to see again and again. Sir. Sir,
Guys,
new
I'm done for today's session. Others, if you wish, you can log off, or if you have any question, you can stay back.
Sir, can I share, sir? Please support us.
1 minute, yeah. Your name? Sachin or what? Sachin,
No,
right?
no, my name is not Sachin. I have a question, Loksai.
No, who wants to share the screen?
I'm not sure.
Sir, Shivam.
Yeah, go ahead. You can share screen. Yeah, Sachin, what's the question?
Actually, I just want to know, can we use single keypad to connect to different instances, or is it always
Yeah,
unique
it's
to every
possible. You
instance?
can create a same key to connect to any node.
Okay, okay.
Shivam, you're not sharing a screen.
Sir, sharing, sir. Sharing, sir. Sir, sharing.
Vishali, are you there? Vaishali.
Yes, sir.
We are not going to use security group to allocate the CPU and memory. Okay, security groups are used to update your inbound or outbound rules. That is altogether different flow. We are going to use the instance type to define the number of CPUs and RAM. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so what is the issue here, Shivam? Already you forked the repository, right? It looks like you haven't forked my repository. You have imported or used it directly. That is a problem. I ask you to fork the repository, correct? Listen,
Yes, sir.
please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You haven't followed the process properly. That's a problem. Just go to my link first. The link which I sent to you, right? Click on that link. The link which I sent to you, where is it? Go to chat window and search. It is available there.
Hello.
Yes.
One question that you have shared the class details. I have received that. Have you shared the AWS one? That process of creation. The
AWS account creation, right?
yes, right, right.
It is already available in the repository. I created a separate folder and updated the PDF there.
Okay, done.
Refresh your repo and check. You can able to access
Okay.
it.
Yes, yes, yes.
So you can see on my screen, right? There is AWS
Yes,
folder.
yes, yes. But after
Uh,
clicking, when I'm clicking that AWS one, I'm not.
Shivam, wait, don't do anything. Listen, please, first. I'll tell you what to do. Yeah, tell me what's the question?
I have received the notes, whatever you have shared, but when I'm clicking that AWS folder, it is blank already. I'm not getting it.
Refresh your folder or sync fork
Okay.
it.
Okay.
If you already forked the repository, you have to sync fork it, right? Just now I uploaded, right?
Yeah. That I have received that the details I have received.
Can you
Only
see a file there inside? There is a
yeah,
file.
yeah. AWS file. Yeah.
That's it. So just click on sync fork. It gets updated. Then only you'll get the updates.
Done.
Just try again.
Yes, done.
Okay. Saivam, sorry. What's it? Shivam.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. So you are trying to create a fork, right? Yeah, that's fine. So leave all the parameters as it is. Scroll down and click on create fork now. That's it. Now only it is actually forking the repository. Got it? Can you access now? And your
Yes.
repository is up to date. So going forward, if you want to synchronize the changes, you can click on the sync fork button. Now it is up to date, but in future, you can click on sync fork and update the branch to get my
Okay.
latest changes.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And sir, now my question, one of the ones. When I create these the repositories, so how to delete this if I want to delete?
That we'll see in some time. Okay, that's not a priority here.
Okay, sir.
All right, so all good or any other question? I updated the repository, guys. It is up to date. So today, ensure that you create your AWS account and come prepared to launch a VM by tomorrow. Any other question from anyone?
No, not for me.
I think the poll is open, right? Or it's not it?
I have already submitted it from
Okay.
my
Yeah,
end.
Okay. Fine then. Thank you. Thanks, Gracie. So if you don't have any question, then I'll close this call. Okay. Thank you all.
Hi everyone, this is Shafaq Ahmed from Paper Like Learning. I can see poll is launched, but no one has submitted.
No, I
No, I
think we
have
have
already.
submitted.
I have submitted.
No, we
I have
submitted.
submitted.
Everyone has submitted the poll?
I have
Yes.
submitted. Yes. Just
Yes.
checking.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
see 18 out of 18 members. I can see some entries are there actually.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you all. We'll connect tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sharp.
Okay, bye bye.